Giancarlo Stanton, stand up and take a bow, big dog. You might be having your best stretch as a Yankee at the plate, but there are still folks out there who are questioning if this man's body can hold up in the outfield for a long period of time with Judge at DH. So let's talk all things Stanton, hashtag all rise with Greg Joyce, our Yankees beat writer for the Post. Greg, thanks for hopping on with this, man. This dude hits. First and foremost, I've been very critical of the Yankees throughout their slump throughout the late summer. So I want to make sure I give them their flowers right now. And it starts with Giancarlo Stanton. We waited for him all throughout spring training and 2.5 months into the regular season, but he's on a heater right now. 5 homers in his last 7 games, 7 in his last 11. So how impressed have you been with him over the past 2 months or so? And do you think that he is really turning up his game right now because we're getting closer to late September and October?
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive. Like you said, late September, October is really where we usually see him kind of turn up his game and become the guy the Yankees need him to be. But over the course of his Yankees career, we've seen him be streaky at times, or for most of the time, he's usually pretty hot or pretty cold. But I don't think there's been a stretch quite like this where he's just been so locked in at the plate for a extended stretch, not just hitting for power, but hitting for average too. Usually he's even in his good seasons with the Yankees, he's been a power hitter, but his average has been low 200s, if that. And so the stretch that he's on now is I think Aaron Boone has said it a couple of times that this is probably the best he's ever seen Stanton as the Yankee. And they certainly need it. Obviously, all these games are so important this time of the year, as they're kind of fighting for their playoff lives. And Stanton has been, pretty much every day he's in the lineup, he's making an impact with his at bats. And then even when he's not, he's before this year he really hadn't had much success as a pinch hitter. Not that he had done it a ton throughout his career, but he's obviously doing it more this season in a different kind of role, where he's on the bench a little bit more, and he's been a legit threat there too. So like you said, he missed the first 2.5 months of the season. I think it took him maybe 10, 15 games to hit his first home run when he came back. But ever since then, he's been pretty locked in, and he's pretty much delivered everything the Yankees could have hoped for. Just because as far back as spring, it was a pretty big question mark what they were going to get out of him, because he is still kind of fighting through the elbow issues and playing through it and managing all that, and you wouldn't know it by the results that he's putting up.
Well, we know all about the damage he can do at the plate. No one has ever questioned that. And this dude it's like he comes alive in the biggest moments with this team's back against the wall. But he is back at playing at right field again since Aaron Judge is still at DH. We know he's a guy whose body kind of struggles with the everyday wear and tear of Major League Baseball, and he gets a lot of those soft tissue injuries. So, how do you think Aaron Boone is going to manage how much he's in the outfield to keep him as close to 100% health wise going into the postseason?
Yeah, I think they know it's a injury risk pretty much every time they run him out there in right field, which is why he hasn't been out there every day. We saw a couple weekends ago in St. Louis where they gave him the 3 straight days off out of the lineup after he'd played 3 straight in the field, and I think there was a good amount of criticism about that he couldn't play 3 straight days and then play that weekend, but he knows his body pretty well, and from all we've heard, him and Aaron Boone have a pretty good line of communication to be pretty honest about how he's feeling. Now he'll play a couple, he'll sit one, he'll mix in a decent amount of off days for him, at least to make sure that they're doing everything they can to avoid an injury. Obviously, you want his bat in the lineup every day, but I think they've stayed fairly disciplined to getting him semi-regular days off, just because we still don't know when Aaron Judge is going to get back in the field. So they want his bat in the lineup as much as they can. But Aaron Boone said the other day it's not at that point in the season yet where they have to have him in there every day no matter what, because it's not if they lose, their season isn't over. So there may come a point where they depending on what their playoff hopes are, where they are in the standings, that they try to run him out there on a everyday basis if Judge still isn't ready to play right field. But to this point, they've been pretty fair in getting him days off, as much as it hurts having his bat out of the lineup, every few days.
Yeah, it's great to get that type of production while Aaron Judge is kind of going on a mini slump himself at batting at DH. So, do you think that Judge is playing a lot more hurt than what he's kind of alluding to. And what's he saying about the injury and how his body feels right now?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we've asked him about whether the flexor is, impacting anything with his hitting, he said he's fine. I don't think he would tell us if it was impacting his hitting, so I think you have to take all that with a grain of salt when he says he's not feeling it at all hitting wise. Obviously, he's still not able to get back in the field as they build him up carefully, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's at least feeling it in some of his swings. But it also could just be, a tough stretch. You come to expect so much out of him. I think his OPS is still pretty high. The batting average obviously isn't there. But the way he started the season, you kind of come to expect that out of him. Obviously, it hasn't looked like that since he came back from the IL, really. You kind of wonder if this is the kind of thing where, he missed the 10 days, timing a little bit off. You see some guys struggle when they come back from the IL, just to kind of get that timing back, in such a groove when you're playing every day. So maybe it's that, maybe it's some of the injury, maybe it's just a tough stretch. We'll see, but obviously I need to get him kind of locked in going as we head into September here.
All right, Greg Joyce, thanks for hopping on with us, my man.
You got it. Thanks, Brandon.